welcome everyone. So we're doing this every first week of the month, pretty much. It's really heartwarming to see you guys here because that means, you see value in this community and what we're offering each other. This is really supposed to be something that we can participate in and learn from each other, offer mentorship. It's really about community and growth. So very happy that you're here. Uh, this year is jam-packed with events, so there's plenty coming. We hope that you guys will stick around. I am going to go ahead and introduce Kirti, who I have here with me. Um, so we're looking at, I'm going to stop this share screen real quick. Mary Lou, you took over my share screen. There we go.
I seem to have control issues.
Great. So again, I want to introduce Kirti, who is here, ARPF CEO and co-founder. And then I also have our two graduates, Mary Lou Green and Kay Hammond, who are our specialists today, who are going to be leading this session. They both work for Dementia Help Center, and they work with family caregivers. They've got a lot of experience doing this. They are the ladies we go to for anything to do with caregiver, stress management. This is their forte. So we're really happy to have them here. And I can go ahead and let you guys take over.
All right. So we will share. There we go. I'm going to share my screen. Just a moment. All right. So hi, I'm Mary Lou Green.
I'm Kay Hammond, and we are not computer literate.
Welcome to Stress Management for Caregivers. Kay and I graduated in 2019, and we are here today to talk about the second pillar, stress management, with a focus on family caregivers and the stress that they deal with. Today, Kay and I are going to cover 5 stressors that cause tremendous problems for care partners, and we're going to give you 2 strategies or techniques that are going to help you in those situations. But we also have created a download for you, and that way we've listed more techniques for you to use. So we're trying to give you as many ways as we can in as little time as possible to help you in dealing with anyone that you know that might need our help. Together, Kay and I have 30 plus years of experience both in caring for our loved ones as well as dealing with clients. So we really appreciate you being here today. If you have questions, would you please put them in the chat, and then we will, Chelsea will help us and we will answer them after we cover our main points. I'd like to start with a quote, which is one of my favorite ones, from Rosalind Carter.
Hey,
and
Mary
she
Lou,
said, yes?
can you make it a big screen, your slide?
Right.
Can you go up to the top and do present mode? Slideshow, yeah.
Did that do it?
No, I think if you hit the play the slideshow.
Is it? Oh, there we go. Is that working? Sorry.
Now it's zoomed in a little bit too much. If you zoom out a little bit more, because we can see on the right side the tools for formatting. So if you...
I'm sorry. I'm working on it. Would you like us to start over?
You don't have to start over. I'm just wondering if we can.
Did that work?
It did not work for me. If you can zoom out a little bit, I think you just zoomed in too much.
Is this an issue with Zoom, or is it an issue with our keynote?
It's with the PowerPoint.
Mary Lou, it might help if you go up to that view button on the left-hand side, top left, and see if that gives you an option to do presentation.
Everything is gray right now.
Okay.
Okay. I wonder, I mean, I could pull it up for you guys.
Whatever's going to help this be successful.
Okay,
please.
you keep going and let me see if I can find something on the side.
All right. And anyone else out there, you're welcome to chime in. I apologize.
You could just read the quote since you can see it. You want to do that?
Well, now I have lost all of my navigation in doing this. So, oh my goodness.
That's okay. We're going to fix this in just a second. It worked perfectly yesterday. Okay, this is what's going to happen. I am going to share this presentation and I'll have you guys talk through it.
All right, that will be great.
Okay,
So I will be on slide 2.
Okay.
Are we there?
Can everybody see this?
And again,
Yes, this one, caregivers.
yes.
Can I give a thumbs up, everybody, that you can see this? You can see my screen? The slide's big?
It's the same for me. It hasn't changed.
Mary Lou, did you end your
No.
share screen?
1 second. Yeah, either that or everybody go to your options. Go to view options at the very top of your screen and then choose which presentation and choose Chelsea.
Okay, so here, I'm gonna force this closed.
That's great.
Okay, thank you. Let's slide 2. Here we go. Mary Lou, can you see my screen? Are you good?
Yes, except I need to have you be on the photo of slide 2, please.
Okay.
There. All right. This is going to be challenging because we prepared differently. So welcome to the world of peer-to-peer, and I'm glad that we're among friends. So thank you so much. I'm going to share this quote from Rosalind Carter with you, which has meant a lot to me. Because what it emphasizes is that we all either will be caregivers some point in our life or need caregivers. And in what you do, that is so important because as you deal with your own family, friends, and your clients, you can become a valuable resource. Next. Oops. The world of Alzheimer's facts is incredibly big, and it's estimated that over 55 million people worldwide live with dementia. More than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. And another statistic that will probably shock you if you don't know it already is that every 63 seconds in America, someone develops Alzheimer's. So that means that by the time we are done with our hour today, there will be 9 people who will have developed Alzheimer's. I would like you to download a copy of this National Companion Research report on family caregivers of adults age 50 plus. It's 82 pages long, but it is very comprehensive and will give you the picture that if you are into statistics that you need. Today, we obviously will not have the time to cover that, but I wanted to give you that as a resource. What we do have coming up is on February 24th, ARPF in collaboration with Dr. Chris Walling and the special guest LaTanya Jones, are going to focus on a Black Brain Health Initiative, because as we all know, this topic of diversity is key right now. We need to pay attention to all the different groups that are not receiving the health care needs that they deserve. So please mark your calendars and come to this on February 24th. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kay.
Well, our family lived with my mother's Alzheimer's for 20 plus years. Yes, that's an extraordinarily long time. The early years were manageable. However, as the disease progressed, life of engagement with my mother became much more challenging for both my sister and myself. But for our father, life became utterly draining, exhausting, emotionally and physically, just draining. And one of the reasons that we struggled so much is that my mother, the way the disease manifested with my mother is that she became both verbally and physically abusive. She was full of fear, rage. She dealt with paranoia and profound hallucinations. So it was a difficult day-to-day life. In the year 2008, my father was scheduled to have surgery for a carotid artery. And I said, well, I'll come out and spend a couple of weeks with you. I'll take care of mom. And then I'll be there to look after you. The surgery was a success. However, he did have a heart attack during the surgery, and that was followed a couple of days later with bypass surgery, also a success. However, considering how compromised his system was, his whole body was from the pressures of the previous 8 to 10 years, he never fully recovered. He had over 30 days between ICU and critical care units, and those were followed by months of being in and out of skilled nursing. My 2 weeks concluded after over 7 months, and I brought my parents to a wonderful care home that was 5 minutes from my house. The 7 months that I spent with my parents trying to juggle things were absolutely the most difficult months of my entire life, and I've had some difficult months. You know, I had my father in hospital, in skilled nursing. I was balancing that with the changes that my mother started experiencing. Her routine was interrupted, and that's a critical issue for people with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. So my mother became a very difficult person, a very different person, even more frightened. My father died just 3 months after I relocated my parents. My mother survived him by another 9 years and 4 months. So in that time, I became the care manager, which also comes with its own daunting responsibilities. While writing the book I did for families like mine, I discovered a jaw-dropping statistic. 63% of family members caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or some form of dementia will develop a life-altering condition, or they will die before the person they care for. At that very moment, I realized that my father's complete devotion to my mother had cost him his life. And so not only had we lost our mother for who she was years before, we now also lost my father. At that moment, I committed myself to reaching out to families like mine to save them the time, money, energy, and pain that it cost my sister and I to understand the magnitude of the disease. And my mantra became, your family has already lost one person, probably a parent. Don't let them lose you too. And that is why we are the rescue plan for family caregivers. To avoid becoming a statistic, you need to put yourself in first position, which is a nearly impossible place to be. You can just imagine that yourself. However, you really do have to put your oxygen mask on first. But some of the ways you can do it are right in there with our pillars. Maintain a healthy diet. Find ways to exercise through yoga, through movement, golfing, tennis, swimming. Do your very best to get deep, restorative sleep. Depend on naps where possible. Socialize and pursue spiritual fitness. Find new friends. Expand your world. Find companions or a day program for your loved one so that you develop private you time.
So now we'd like to take that one statistic and narrow it into the 5 stressors that cause problems for caregivers. And what happens to the body when we're caregivers is that we're under stress. And when we are, we get this flood of hormones that causes us to be at that flight or fight level. And usually the body then has that relax and we go back to our normal state. And so the hormones and cytokines disappear. But with caregiving, you get to be in sort of this constant state. And as we age, especially over 50, then this whole mechanism that the body has that causes us to return to normal starts to stay like a car that's in first gear and it's always there. It never goes back to neutral. And so our body starts to break down and we can get heart problems and we can get diabetes too, and we can get all kinds of immune disorders. So our goal again is to identify some of the things that happen and the stressors and what to do so that doesn't cause all of this in the body. So the 5 are the fear of the unknown, the lack of support and understanding and empathy from others who don't understand what you're going through, isolation and loneliness because now you're trapped at home if you're caring for someone, the financial challenges, and no me time. But before we go into these, I really want a statement that caregiving is not all just work and drain and sadness and anger and depression. And it can sound like that when we're talking about all of these stressors. There are moments that you will never forget that you spend with your loved one, and you will be so glad later that you had those moments. So now Kay is going to focus on the first stressor, which is fear of the unknown.
Well, the all too common message we hear from a lot of families is that after a series of tests and diagnostics, they've gone to see the doctor for a diagnosis, and the doctor says, well, you have dementia. It's early. I want you to go about your everyday life. And there's not much we can do at this point, and I'll see you in 6 months. That is really a very common exchange with the doctors. They might even say, it's your age, it's appropriate for your age, just go about your life. Well, occasionally you walk out of the room and what do you know? Nothing. But you do know that if you have dementia, this is not a good thing. Occasionally, we have doctors who will review the scans with the family and explain what part of the brain is most affected, what abilities are being impacted, how the disease could continue to manifest itself, and the doctor will give you the name of the dementia. And we have over 100. It's so important that you know what you're dealing with. If you had cancer, you would know where the cancer was. If you are diagnosed with dementia, you need to know what kind you have. Knowledge is your greatest tool, so look out for every bit of information you can possibly find. Every form of dementia will have varying behaviors and characteristics and lifespans. The next thing, that we want to cover. So when you get that diagnosis, there are so many resources that are available to us today. There's the Alzheimer's Association. Once you find out what form of dementia you have, there are many different national organizations devoted to those particular specific diseases. Take advantage of that information. Look for like-minded groups on Facebook. Nobody will get it like the people that are living it. And that will really, really help you. But please avoid the groups that are just bitch sessions. That doesn't help you at all. And regardless of the diagnosis, please remember, your loved one is still very capable of living life. Avoid the coddling and babying. Let them do as much as they possibly can continue to do so they feel valued. And remember, there is still a person inside there with many good years ahead of them. Open doors for all these resources. You're going to hear us mention adult day programs a few times. That's an opportunity for them to share a day with people like themselves. I like to say among equals. And that gives you an important block of time for you to take care of you or run 97 errands without them shadowing you. One of the great fears that people have when they get a diagnosis like this is they don't want to share it. Well, I would encourage you to resist living in a silo. By sharing, you're offering people the opportunity to shower you with compassion and support. You're going to eliminate gossip and fear because people observe changes. And you're going to expand their awareness, and you can thank them for ongoing companionship and friendships. And very importantly, it's keeping your life moving forward.
Next, we want to look at the stressor, which is the lack of support, understanding, and empathy. And to do that, I'd like to share my story. This is my mom, Mary Ann. She just turned 100 this August. When my husband and I in 2005 sold our business in Denver, Colorado, we chose to come and live in the Palm Springs area where we hoped to play golf. So we retired, bought a house, and invited my parents to come and visit for Thanksgiving through the holidays, which they did. And we made it through the first week. And what started to appear was what happens so often with other people is that we saw that the distance between Albuquerque and where they live was enough that on the phone, they sounded really fine. And that's true with dementia. People remember the conversational pattern and everything can sound great. But when we actually got them to our home, we started seeing the signs of dementia with forgetfulness and just a lot of being uneasy because they weren't in their home and in their routine. And the next week, I found myself following an ambulance with my mother in it because she had a physical problem. And I realized in that moment that if I lost sight of that ambulance, I didn't know where the hospital was. I didn't even know the number for the ambulance company if I lost it. And I felt in that moment so utterly alone and isolated, and I had no one other than my husband that I could talk to. I didn't volunteer to be a caregiver, but hardly any of us really do or think when we grow up that's what we're going to do. But I realized that I'm an only child and they were dependent on me, and it would be my privilege to take care of them. So we brought them in to stay with us, and we sold their home in Albuquerque, our home in Denver, and we were now a 4-person family. What happened in those early days was that we became trapped in their routine. And instead of being able to go and do whatever we wanted, we had to provide breakfast and lunch and dinner at certain times. and we were on our routine, and I became the parent rather than the daughter. And that was such a monumental shift from my experience. Also, now my husband was in second place, and we didn't like that at all. He's incredible, but it still bothered me so much. And all my resources were in Denver. So the first thing we suggest in this situation is that you join a support group, either in person or online, because no one will get it the way the others going through it will. Again, because of my lack of ability to network, I found that the Mayo Clinic online support group helped me. And I also started looking up information, as Kay talked about. Information is so important. So I started using the online website for the Alzheimer's Association to figure out what I should do. And now I have quite a network of support groups in Facebook that I pay attention to, and you will get a handout of those, the names of 6 of those support groups to help you if you want to reach out. The next thing I want to share is that when someone asks you how you and your loved one are doing, you choose your reply based on what they can handle. So here I am for the first year. I don't have any of my former network. I'm trying to make new friends. And of course, people would know because I'd share, well, my parents live with me. And then later my dad passed, so it was just my mom. And so they would say, how's your mom? Well, because I'm quite the talker and the sharer, I would launch maybe into some specifics about what was going on. And I would watch their eyes glaze over. And then others I would see really were listening and they were interested and they would ask me questions. So what I did is I learned that when someone's eyes started to glaze over, and then in the future, if they said, how's your mom? I would say, she's fine, thank you. And if it was one of my trusted sources and friends, then they said, how's your mom? Then I might give some highlights about what was going on and see if they wanted to ask more questions or not. If you do that, you will really help yourself not to feel lost or rejected if you don't get a response that you're hoping for. And now Kay is going to talk about stressor number 3.
Isolation and loneliness. As Mary Lou said, nobody really signs up for this opportunity, but we learn to make it a valued experience. Along with that, absolutely will come your isolation and your loneliness. To what Mary Lou was just discussing, your circle of friends can get an awful lot smaller because not everybody is prepared to hear what you have to say. And there's also a lot of fear in knowing that if that's happening in your house, it could be happening in theirs. As your loved one's disease progresses, your responsibilities grow. And in time, you will be doing everything from meal planning, groceries, laundry, medical appointments, prescriptions, bill paying, housekeeping, maintenance. Oh, and you're entertaining them too. And I don't mean that to sound sarcastic.
No.
If any of you have been parents, imagine that you have somebody that's varying teenage to maybe 7 or 8 year olds, and they need a lot of attention. They want to be doing something. What's going on now? Where are we going? What are we doing? You have an overflowing bucket of responsibilities. And you really always want to remain warm and loving. But there are moments your hair is on fire. Your world has shrunk. As I said, friends don't come around as often as they used to, nor do they necessarily invite you over. Your leisure self-care time, getting your hair done and your nails or going to the spa, that now includes them. Trying to get anything done, let alone read a book or just relax, will be interrupted by their confusion, their boredom, or something else. There are ways to open your world. You are going to hear us repeat this several times. We must learn to be as good a receiver as we are a giver. Think about how many times you hear something untoward happening to someone and immediately you want to jump in there and help them out. And you mean it, all right? You mean that very much. Now the tables are turned and you need some help. You need to learn to say yes. There's an opportunity for someone to do something for you. It could be ask a friend of your loved one. I'm going to assume right for this conversation that it's your husband. He's got a lot of buddies. Invite them to come over and spend time with him. Maybe you can go do something else while they're together. Maybe they could take him for a drive and lunch. It's really, give them $25 and say, have a good time. You can get a lot of things done, or just be alone by yourself. This is one of the things that I discovered. Even though my mother was in a care home, I was very close by, and she did have a lot of behavior issues. And also, I really did feel obligated, since she was just down the street, to see her as much as possible. Before, they lived 4 hours away, and of course, it was understandable I wasn't there. One of the things I did was start taking my mother for a weekly Sunday drive. We live out in the desert, and there's some beautiful areas that we can explore. And I would always turn on Sirius Sinatra for her. And she would start tapping her toes and singing along with all her old friends from a period in her life that seemed like today. You know, there were definitely occasions that as I started to turn left out of the driveway to go to her house, I just really didn't want to do it. That's the truth. However, I had promised, and she was expecting me, and I would pick her up. And I must admit that in a short order, it was no longer fatiguing and emotionally draining. I started appreciating the scenery around me as well, and I would take her on different routes all the time. She didn't know the difference, but I did. So that turned into a positive for me. Listening to the music was just wonderful. And honestly, I learned a lot of things about my mother on many of those drives, because there were no more filters. And she would be herself, and she would share information that she had never shared before. So consider those kinds of opportunities. Make an experience that you can both enjoy. And last but certainly not least, find yourself a good ear friend. That's somebody who will just listen to you unload. You don't need an opinion, and you don't need any input. You just need a one-way conversation, and you can be that for one of your friends. Be as good a receiver as you are a giver. And now we have the
Financial challenges.
Oh my God.
Here's the shocker. I can't tell you how many clients we have worked with that are absolutely devastated by this fact that Medicare does not pay for a care home or an assisted living community. And I'd like to share the latest costs I could find for caring for a loved one, either in home or also, as you can see, for in a small group home or in an assisted living home or memory care or nursing home. And you watch how all of those step up drastically, realizing that, again, that is per month. Alzheimer's is the most expensive disease in the United States because it requires so much one-on-one care. And Medicare, while it doesn't cover the cost of the care homes, it does maybe pay for medical services rendered by the facility, as well as home health services such as physical therapy and occupational therapy. And you can get 100 days of skilled nursing care and sometimes medical social services. Now, Medicaid is different because it is administered state by state, so what is offered varies. In many cases, nursing services and personal care assistance is covered, but the states are legally not allowed to use Medicaid funds to cover room and board. But then some states have alternative programs. So you have to go back to the beginning, information, resources, find as much as you can out about these things. The VA has some care facilities that they supervise and operate, but they don't pay for care in other facilities. However, in some cases, the Veterans Aid and Attendance Pension can be a source of help for paying for assisted living. Individuals who can qualify must have less than $80,000 in assets. So what can you do to pay for the care? Well, here are 4 ideas for you to explore. If you are lucky enough that you or your loved ones have a really healthy retirement savings and investments, then that is the best scenario because you can pay right then out of pocket. Others sell your home and other assets as needed. Or if you had or someone that you love purchased a long-term care insurance program, activate that as soon as possible and contact the insurance carrier to help you with that. And then I just explained the benefits that are offered by Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA. But you need to, again, explore what is true for your community. When do you do this? Now.
Yesterday.
Now. Don't wait for the crisis. And usually what happens for many families is that their loved one has a fall or ends up in the hospital for some reason, often pneumonia. And that's when they start rooting through papers and trying to open the safe to figure out what the financial picture is. So please get your legal and financial papers in order for yourself and work with your family so that you don't find yourself in crisis on top of crisis. And don't forget to notify the people that are involved in the decisions and send them copies of the essential documents so they aren't finding the moment that you're calling them from the hospital that they are now in charge.
I want to just reiterate that of all the things that will burden you, the financial element can really be the most daunting. And it's a very expensive disease. So really get your ducks in a row, okay? Now I want to talk to you about no me time. I guess you're getting the picture. I got all the great things to talk about. One morning, my mother asked me again and again the same question. And frankly, I was so mentally, physically, and emotionally drained from the 25-mile each way drive twice a day for my dad and managing, which my mother's spinning out of control world. I said nothing and I walked in another room. Fortunately, I was really afraid if I stayed there, I would just explode. And that wasn't going to help anything. Fortunately, the room I walked into had wide shutters and they were open. And I looked out at a gentle breeze flowing through beautiful leaves on the tree. And I just inhaled and exhaled. And I did that many times again. And I had an aha moment. Do not let what you're dealing with attach to you. Do not let those moments attach to you. It is doable. It's not easy, but you can train yourself. And when I felt that I was over my head, didn't know if I could handle it one more moment, I became focused. I visualized on those beautiful fluttering leaves, and I would breathe and exhale And honest to goodness, I'm speaking to an audience that knows this, that breathing will change the dynamics inside and you can cope. The other thing that is absolutely critical is respite. It's essential. You need to make it happen. You remember if you had children that they got to go to kindergarten, preschool, kindergarten. They also went to summer camp, and that became, whoa, nobody was pulling on your apron or your dress saying, mommy, mommy, mommy. Well, believe me, you need it now more than ever. And to give you an idea, I could no longer close the door when I went to the bathroom because my mother needed to know where I was all the time. And if she didn't see me, she would start looking. And a closed door to the bathroom meant nothing to her. All right. So you're going to need a break. Well, in place of daycare, in place of all the summer camps and so forth, you do have the opportunity for adult day programs. And thank goodness, more and more communities have introduced them around the country. This is a place that's specifically designed for individuals like my mom or Mary Lou's or somebody's husband. These are skilled places that understand the disease and how to manage it and how to engage these individuals. And they get to be among equals. Now, I'll tell you that my father never thought my mother would like it. And so he never engaged my mother with it. Well, when he was in the hospital and I was doing this other routine, I enrolled my mother in. I didn't call it adult daycare. I used a therapeutic tale and I said, Mom, the music program is today. I don't want to go. Well, Mom, you made the reservation and you even had me pay for it. Magic words. We got her dressed, off she went. The next day, it was an art program. Now, keep in mind, my mother didn't remember a lot, so we went from art to music over and over. But here's the beauty. She was really engaged with people. She accomplished something. She used a lot of energy. And every day that she was in in the day program, she would come home relaxed and sleep all night. That was huge. My mother would come home and tell me amazing stories. None of them happened, but in her mind, they were great. And I got to take care of a lot of things without mother being my shadow, and sometimes just have lunch alone. Respite can be a couple of hours when your friends take your husband out. They can be an afternoon. It's your opportunity to find resources, but you definitely need respite.
Thank you, Kay. So that concludes our presentation about the 5 stressors that caregivers face. And at this point, we'd like to see if you have any questions. So maybe Chelsea, you could let us know.
Yes, I don't have anything in the chat, but if anybody has a question, feel free to either raise your hand with the reactions below. You can put it in the chat box. You can unmute yourself.
It looks like there might be one. Haven't we told you such stimulating, exciting things? You can't wait to jump into this world.
All right.
We actually just touched on a few things. Linda, you have a question.
Let's see, I got.
I have to say, it's not so much a question, it's an observation. When you were talking about the need for objectivity and that it was found through the breath, it just seemed, in listening to everything that you were talking about, I had a certain sense of overwhelm just hearing about it, given what's going on in my personal world. And so the emphasis on objectivity, I just wanted to emphasize because it allows us to have perspective. So I'm really grateful, very grateful for what you're doing and for that in particular, thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's true, it's staying focused on what is going on, what is the purpose, and not on the disease. That's where there's a person there. And you get through an awful lot remembering that. But thank you for that that awareness. Appreciate it.
Trin.
Trin?
Hi, ladies from Bacon, Lettuce, and Tomato. Brain Longevity Training 2019. Great to see you again. I always think of a good BLT sandwich when I think about it, and it was such a good time.
I miss us.
Thank you. You're speaking my language. It's so close to my heart too, that, you know, deep breathing and resetting yourself so that you can fill your own cup while you're caregiving, instead of saying, now, when I'm all done caregiving, I'll be fine. Or when my mom is fine, I'll be, it's, you know, you don't know how many years it's going to be that you're on this journey together. So make it a good journey together. And wow, thank you so much for everything you've shared. It's just very, very special and valuable. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we're not done. We want to introduce a special guest. His name is Mr. Larry Greiner, and his mother, Ms. Norma, who live in Baltimore, Maryland. And I discovered Larry through Facebook, through one of those care support groups that I was talking about online. And I found this incredible video of his mother singing, and she just took over my whole being in that moment because she's just so magical. She's 91 years old and has Alzheimer's. And we invited Larry to come and be the voice for what it's like for a caregiver taking care of his mother. And he agreed to be with us today. And then after he talks a bit about his experience and answers your questions, then we're going to show you a little video of Ms. Norma. So is Larry there?
Larry's here.
Hi, Larry.
Yay.
Hello, everybody. Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Great.
Well, I guess I'll just start off by telling how my story started. My mother has suffered or been diagnosed for more than about 13 or 14 years now. I was unaware in the beginning years because I had been living in California, and my brother had been caring for her indirectly because he was living close to her and my mom was living alone. In a nutshell, my brother took care of my mother for about 5 years, moving back into the home when he still had a family at his home and another business that he was managing. It eventually broke him after about those 5 years. And I became aware of that after he had written an email to my other brother and sister and said he just couldn't take it anymore. He didn't have a life. I was unaware of everything he had gone through, and recognized that I had to come home and at least give him a break, of which I did in 2013. It took a 3.5-month leave of absence from my job. And that's when I became aware of what my brother was going through, what Alzheimer's was all about, what being a caregiver was all about, what family dynamics was all about, what not having any time for your own life was all about. Everything in a nutshell. I found that out in 2 weeks, and it broke me. But I recognized it was easier for me because I saw an end to my caregiving. 3.5 months, I was going back to California, and my brother was going to take over again. Although it was the best break he had ever had, it is what opened up my eyes to, my goodness, what this world is all about. I became aware of, okay, what does the disease do to you? Although you never know what it's going to do to every individual. But I recognized, well, we had to do something as a family. I kind of broke down and said, well, let's find a good place for mom to go to. And I did resort to calling a place for mom, and went on a couple of visits and recognized that although these places might be good for some people, it wouldn't have been good for my mom. I couldn't see her sitting in a chair staring out a window or at a TV all day long, and recognized our goal was to keep her in her home as long as possible. So after that 3-month stint, and my eyes opened wide, I went back to California and thought, well, let me see if I can do this every year. Let me come home and take a leave of absence and yada, yada, yada. Well, luckily, I don't know if it's really luckily, my company went through a reorg and I was able to take a package, and I resigned my position. and came home a year later and was here for an entire year, still thinking, well, we're going to find something for my mom. It's going to be comfortable for everybody concerned, family members, and for her. But I started to recognize this is not what we want mom to be in a dorm room for the rest of her life and other people looking over her. I was able to figure out, well, mom loves music. My mom sang with the Baltimore Symphony Chorus for over 25 years. And that music has been instilled in her still to this day. And I just started playing music for her. And a part of her came out that we didn't even notice when we were growing up. And that has given her and me sort of a second chance just to enjoy life. And if you're able to see some of her videos, you just see another person come out where she is so deep into the music, regardless of whether or not she's even heard the song before. But she shows mannerisms and an attitude change, and her gait when she walks changes, her interaction with others changes. And it's just made a big difference, and it's kind of saved us over the past couple of years. I've been here 4 years now for this stint, to enjoy the days when we can get out, or for that matter, even when we're inside the house. I can play music and have her enjoy that, and I enjoy watching her, and I've just found another release for me to enjoy her enjoying the music, which helps me get through the day. I did view most of this presentation, and I saw all those struggles that everybody goes through. And I still do that. I still go through everything there. I break down in the car at red lights and, find myself just staring up into the sky. It's like, well, when is this ever going to get better? But I do have a realization that it's not going to get better. It's a progressive disease. But for me, at this point in time, I found that my therapy is in helping her enjoy her moments. The times that I do play music, I recognize a couple minutes later, she won't remember them, but we can enjoy the videos over and over. She'll look at it and say, is that me? I say, yeah, that's you. And then she enjoys that music again, all over. Another big aspect that has helped me through the years, in the past 2 or 3 years, I've been involved with a number of caregiver groups on Facebook, and they've turned into that community that really, really, really makes a difference. People seem to think I know what I'm doing. I'm making this up day by day. But it just seems, it seems to work for us. But evidently, now they're scientifically showing that music does help for most patients. It's the one thing or part of the brain that's the last to go, if you might say it that way. And again, I'm lucky that mom has had music so instilled in her that a lot of it has been coming back, but you have to introduce it to them. And once you introduce it to them, she just picks it up and just runs with it. If she doesn't know the lyrics, she does what we call hand jive, where she just basically hand dances, and she'll shake her head and everything else. And if you give her an audience, I don't even recognize the woman anymore. But that has been what's gotten me through the past couple of years. All the ups and downs that you go through as a caregiver still exist, but I'm able to sort of maintain it when I'm able to interact with mom or have mom interact with others. I mean, things have changed so much recently that her exposure on Facebook has now led to a major article in our local newspaper here. The TV station is going to do a piece on her. I'm trying to get her as a special guest with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. I mean, there's a lot of things behind the scenes. Those things keep me going, to know that I can keep her going as much as possible. I can see the progression of her disease on a regular. I'm laying in the twin bed I grew up in. So there's some stories behind that. It's made me recognize what's most important in life, not necessarily a large bed, but the opportunity for my mother to have a life and not just live. So this is kind of why I'm here, not just because of mom, but because of my brother. I'm sorry, I get emotional with this, but my brother gave of his life with all the responsibilities he had, and gave my mother as much time that he could, and again gave us the opportunity to keep her in her home. He never complained. Being 3,000 miles away, I just was not aware of all the challenges he went through until I came home and relieved him. I'm an anomaly. I have siblings that do help out. A sister that comes down every 2 months from Pennsylvania and gives me a sustained break. Another younger brother that's here that I can get out for an evening, or for whatever I get. I mean, I don't do too much. My priority is my mom. My priority wasn't coming home to have a social life or relationship or anything like that. But they're the ones that are forcing me out to get out and just get my mind straight in some way or form. My me time is the morning when mom is sort of getting ready. We're lucky we have a caregiver that comes in 7 days a week, paid for by insurance that my mother purchased before she was even diagnosed. We're one of the lucky ones, definitely. But having all that care doesn't keep you from going through those roller coasters of emotions of watching your loved one go through what they're going through. Being on the website and being in the community of caregivers, the things that scare me is hearing about how other people's loved ones, where they are in their advanced stages, what they can do, what they can't do, or for that matter, how that caregiver feels when they find out that their loved one was just diagnosed and they don't know what to do. You can't always give the answer that's going to help you, but you're that ear for them to talk to. And that again has been therapy for me. My empathy for them is just saying, hang in there. If you need somebody to talk to, here's another person. I'm lucky to have a big web of people that do check in on me. One thing I do find in conversations I've had is, well, when you want to talk to somebody, what would you say when you call? I don't want to come off like I'm complaining, and I don't call in those times, but when somebody does call, a conversation does resort out of that you start to say what you're going through. And mainly because most of the people, most of my friends are my age. We've all gone through something similar with dementia, with Alzheimer's, with Parkinson's, or for that matter, with just a loved one getting older. So those challenges still remain with wanting your loved one to have a semblance of some kind of normal life and activity, but you can't be there all the time. I was lucky I didn't have any dependents back at home, and my life is in a storage locker in Southern California, and I am here to take care of mom, to keep her in her home. There's no set end to it. We want longevity, but we'll just see how it goes. But again, the stresses remain. I'm able to deal with it as best I can, like we all do. And we'll just see how things go. But, at this point in time, I work out in the morning, I get that out of the way. Then the afternoons are reserved for mom to get her to the park or out, or just to walk any place that we can go. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the restrictions are there, and I do maintain distances, but if we have a local park that we can go out, that people can still get relatively close enough to us that we can enjoy their company. And mom takes over from there. I turn the music on and she just entertains everybody and anybody. So again, it's a blessing for people to see the videos. I make them for people to smile at, but evidently the impact has been, it's been unbelievable. I mean, she's got a fan club of over 100,000 people worldwide. And that's a low ball number, literally. And so that drives me for mom to enjoy herself, but recognizing what we're doing is also impacting and helping a lot of other people see that there is a person still inside, that as long as you can find a pathway, use it. You don't have to try 101 things. The music works for us. When mom's in front of children, she just lights up like the sun. And if that will work for her, I will try to do that as much as possible going forward. So, but that's my story right now. Like I said, I'm leaning back on my twin bed here, just enjoying everybody there. But I know that I'm in your place too. And my heart goes out to all of you, because I know those low times, and I get them frequently, when I'm alone, because you never know when those thoughts come across you. You just change your focus. As I try to change her focus, when I see her just with a blank stare, put on some music, or she loves chocolate, I say, Mom, sing a song for chocolate. She breaks out into a song of chocolate. She's done about 200 versions. Every single one is different. But those kind of things at least lighten her up, puts a smile on her face, brings her back from wherever she was in her mind, because we don't know where that was. And we can start to interact a little bit more from there. So please ask questions. They're a lot easier to answer than for me to just keep spitting this out. So
Well, thank you,
Well,
Larry. It's amazing. And I just want to point out we have a few comments, just people saying thank you so much for sharing. So grateful to have this opportunity and how good of a son you are. But I just want to go ahead. We're after the hour, but that's okay. If anybody has a question or comment, please go ahead and raise your hand, put it in the chat, unmute yourself. And also, I put in the chat one of the videos of Larry and his mom singing together. It's better if you play it from your computer yourself, just the sound quality, so it's in there.
And also, there is a YouTube channel that Larry has. If you go to Larry A. Griner, and you can just have a whole evening of Larry and Ms. Norma.
I'll tell you a quick story. This is emotional too. And I'll just say it, a synopsis. I got a message from a woman who I did not know on Facebook, and she sent me a message. And she said, Larry, your mother saved my life. She was on the side of the bed, she said, with her concoction of pills. She already had the plan, and she was about to log off of Facebook. And she got a posting of my mom's video. And she said she spent the next 2 hours just looking at mom's videos, laughing and crying and laughing more. And it got her through that low point. And it's amazing. Again, I personally can't see it from other people's eyes. Well, actually, I'm starting to see it from other people's eyes to recognize that, your music is important to everybody. And the fact that even though somebody has Alzheimer's and they're enjoying it the way my mother does, or for that matter, a lot of people do, it can make a difference. And so that's given me, again, purpose. I'm an advocate for caregivers. I hope to do some more fundraisers for the Alzheimer's Association. And anybody that asks, I do it because of mom, but evidently the impact is out there, and I'm going to continue to do it for others too. So that's, just a story that, I never knew how good this can get. That got great. So that's on my Facebook post. If anybody wants to go there, I put down the message that was sent to me, and to this day, again, I kind of relive her words. She saved my life. My mom is actually saving my life right now, because if I wasn't or out in California, I would not understand what she's going through. Right now, I know I'm living the best life because I'm giving life back to her. So, I'm not going to share any more tears with them.
Well, Larry, thank you so very much. It's the moment that I called you and we talked that first night, I felt this kinship that again underscores what we all feel when we come together, because nobody does get it. And
Right.
What you are doing with music and your mother and pulling this all together raises awareness. And we need that same awareness in this country the way we had it about cancer in the 50s.
Right.
Because we're heading into a bigger and bigger challenge. And your contribution is just huge. And we thank you so much for joining us today. You made our presentation, and if you can see the chat, people are lighting up with joy and hearts and all kinds of gratitude.
I only wish mom she's laying down right now. I wish she was awake. She'd sing you a song of chocolate just like that if I went down there. But you'll see a lot of versions if you go on my Facebook page, and I hope you enjoy it, please. And if you do go on my Facebook page, send me a friend request. I want to know that we talked here, and know that I'm impacting more people. That's what keeps me going. So.
Well, Larry,
thank you.
Thank you so much for
You're
this
welcome.
gift.
Thank you.
And I honor you for the commitment, the choices you've made. And you're right, nobody signs up for it, but you find that it is really the honor and privilege to look after your parents. And you get to really see who they are when that filter comes down. Yeah.
I say it's a fraternity nobody wants to be in, but you know, if
Right.
we're gonna be in it, we might as well support everybody that's there, because if I meet somebody that's a caregiver, it's almost like 50% of their being already. So I know half of you 50% of so it's all good. It's all good.
Well,
But
thank
I
you.
enjoy this too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. Thank
I
you.
want to thank all three of you for putting this together. You guys put a lot of time and energy and heart into this, so thank you for presenting. I'm going to send everyone a follow-up email with the recording and more handouts for you if you need more resources. I also just want to mention that next month, on March 3rd, we're going to have another peer-to-peer session called Bringing Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion into Your Practice. I really hope you'll join. If you have any questions about this scholar membership, or if you want to be more involved, want to learn more, please reach out to me. You'll be getting plenty of emails from me, so just reply. So anyways, I look forward to continuing to build this community and our relationship and this education. So thank you so much, everyone, and I hope
And
to see
Chelsea,
you soon.
sorry, I sent you the slides. There's some requests for the slides. So
I will
if you want the
include them.
slides, you just send Chelsea a message and you'll get the whole deck. And I thank you for your patience at the beginning.
It just proves no matter how hard you try to get it all right, there's that great opportunity to just really ground you.
All right, thank you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day and thank
Love it.
you.
Thank you
Larry.
so much.
Love it.